For over 35 years, Todd Garner has overseen blockbuster films like Con Air, Anger Management, Triple X, 13 Going on 30, and the Mortal Kombat franchise.
Why are they letting you make these movies?
Join Todd as he shares tips and stories from the front lines of producing in Hollywood.
I'm Adam Sandler.
I'm Rebel Wilson.
This is Jeff Probst.
I'm Kaylee Cuoco.
I'm Eli Roth.
This is Marlon Wayans.
Hey, it's Ed Helms.
This is Shay Mitchell.
Hey everybody, this is Kevin James, and this is The Producer's Guide.
The Producer's Guide.
The Producer's Guide.
The Producer's Guide with Todd Garner.
Todd Garner.
Todd Garner.
Todd Garner.
What a combination.
Welcome to The Producer's Guide, where we explore the creative minds shaping the future of film, television, and all other content. I'm Todd Garner, and today we have an exceptional guest that is breaking new ground in the one entertainment sector that is not only growing, but exploding. Kay Zhang, a visionary director and producer and creative exec whose impressive body of work has graced the prestigious Cannes Film Festival, the Directors Guild of America Awards, and the Student Academy Awards. Starting her journey in independent film, Kay transitioned into literary management at Range Media Partners, where she became a crucial ally to directors, writers, and screen-based intellectual property. Kay has since emerged as a leading producer in the vertical microdrama space, amassing over 1 billion views as an executive producer. In 2025, she made her mark at Good Short, producing 4 of the company's 10 most commercially successful titles. Now she's taking her talents to DramaBox, where she continues to innovate and inspire in the microdrama space. In today's competitive market, everyone is looking for what's next, and microdramas seem to be on everyone's minds. So I wanted to have someone on that is not only in the microdrama space, but is thriving in it. So today, it's all about vertical entertainment, how they're made, and what the future holds. Enjoy. All right, I'm here with Kay Zhang. Hello, Kay. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Hi, Todd.
Everybody is talking about microdramas, like everybody.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to my Producers United people and said, who knows about microdramas? And Mark Varadian's like, I've got the person. So here we are. And I thought that we would dive into everything that you've experienced in microdramas, because I know you've made some really successful ones. But before that, I want to talk a bit about how you got to this place. So tell me about growing up, and then tell me about your inspiration for getting into the business.
The business. Well, that word itself is hard to define these days, right? Like what's in the business,
absolutely.
what's not. I was born and raised in China, and I started to watch movies when I was like Hollywood movies when I was 5 years old. And that's how I learned English.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was watching a lot of things that was supposed to be PG-13, but I watched them without PG before 13. And yeah, I went to school at Duke, then did film school in USC. And I'm like, oh my God, I love LA. This is kind of like storytelling, the good old storytelling that we know of is what shaped and forged my kind of like worldview in a way. So I figured that's where I want to be. That's what I want to create in this world. And started out as a filmmaker, brought my shorts to big festivals and got student awards, DGA awards out of it. And everything was looking, glamorous and gorgeous and onward and upward until, one thing after another, as we know of, all of the great things that happened, COVID, the strike, all of it, right? AI. And I find myself in the vertical drama business. And it's kind of like when Uber started, when Airbnb started, it's
Right.
just like an unstoppable force of technology and just thinking that when it comes in, it's meant to change how people mobilize, how people entertain themselves, how people function. Pretty much that's how I see what vertical is doing these days.
Did you, when you were in China and watching movies and forming your worldview, do you remember a specific movie that really moved you and captured your imagination, and to where you thought, "Ooh, this is something interesting that I would like to be a part of"?
Like, just top of my head, the straightforward one is Mean Girls. And
Perfect. perfect.
A little embarrassing. It's a little embarrassing. And I don't know, maybe I'll throw Twilight in there as well. But, just think like 12-year-old Chinese girl in a very high pressured, very academic driven environment and watching Mean Girls. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what are people doing every day? Like, their life seems so fun. And I was like, I want that. I want to have 5 boyfriends. I want to go to parties. So yeah, that was like a little mind opener for me when I was a teenager. Um and yes, there's so many other great examples.
No, but those are two really good examples because you know what we often forget? What gets lost in our business sometimes is the reason we do it. And what gets lost is as we consolidate and we say like certain movies shouldn't get made anymore and this movie isn't the right kind of movie that's quote unquote theatrical or undeniable, we forget that movies are our greatest export. And to a 12-year-old little girl
Yeah,
living in China was inspired by this movie that was
totally.
clearly entertainment, clearly fun, but was inspired because it showed a lifestyle, it showed some
Yeah.
sort of promise of something that was your words really fun. I would say a generation before you had that with Clueless, same thing, and a generation before you and had Twilight, had the Lost Boys and those movies. So like every generation has those touch points, and we forget that you can reach a 12-year-old girl in China and inspire her to come to America and be an artist. So we can't lose sight of that when we're thinking about what we do in our jobs. And
Yeah.
so I'm really glad you brought up those two examples. And so at Duke, did you study film, or what did you study at Duke?
Yes, I had a minor/certificate in film, but I studied history and international comparative studies. Um, because I don't know, for like a split second it was pre-law or something, but then I realized, no, I can't do that. I'm not gonna do that. um, I realized that I still have like the rawness of an artist inside me. So I did what I had to do, wrote all the essays I had to write, and like I guess learned a thing or two about the world. And then decided to like go make things because I'm a maker. Like I want to go make things.
And you did a brief stint at Range, correct?
I did.
And what was your title there? And what were your responsibilities at Range?
Yeah, well, I was an associate, which is a fancy word for assistant, and I covered the desk for a senior partner. Her name is Tanya Cohen. It was a splendid, wonderful, absolutely just spirit forging period of time in my life. I learned everything from scratch. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I know nothing about the industry. All I had was my fancy little short that went to Cannes, which was great, but I still don't know how money works, how people works about the industry. I don't know who are the players, and that was a desk job that taught me everything from 0 to 1.
And before you took that job as an associate, you mentioned that you had a short that went to Cannes. Walk me through how that came about and what it was about and kind of what the reception was and what that garnered you.
So that is one of those blessing during COVID kind of a story. So I was among the batch of film student / just young creative who was just so lost during COVID and then the strike. I was in the middle of film school, so I was going to graduate into the quarantine, and like all of the film education that we know of is just in the middle of nowhere. And we were gonna do like the very rigid academic process, the curriculum of a thesis film and like a collaborative project in the school, which was USC, yes, one of the best film programs in the world. Very very proud of my program. But then everything is just okay. Now we're gonna do this over Zoom. So I took the initiative. I applied to every single fund and scholarship on earth. and managed to fly some key crews back to China. Okay, no, backward. So I wrote the script. I had the idea. I wrote the script. I just was crying and writing for 5 hours, and then I pumped out that script. It's a real story that I heard during COVID. I was born and raised in Wuhan, so that's the town that's kind of like the ground zero of COVID. So I was hearing all of the most crazy stories that you can hear off at like the first months of COVID, where the death rate was 5%. It's like 5 out of 100 people, like 1 out of 20 people will actually die.
Wow.
Like I was hearing all these stories, and there was one story about a mother who had a preemie baby before COVID, like on the night of COVID, on the night of the quarantine. She had a preemie baby, but she had left the hospital for her own care, and the baby was in like the incubators section. It's been so long. I'm like losing my touch on pitching my own story. Yeah, so she was quarantined away from her own child, and it was law enforced, no ground transportation, no whatsoever transportation. So she was cut off from picking up her baby, who was in the hospital for 3 months. And during these 3 months, she found every way possible walking down the highway to get to the hospital where her baby was quarantined at, to try to reunite with her newborn child. So that's the story I heard, and I immediately just have the passion to make it into a film. So I wrote the script and was able to produce it and direct it in Wuhan, in China.
Wow.
And yeah, that was a beautiful experience to be able to do that.
Wait a minute. How? Okay. During COVID, you flew to Wuhan to make a short film.
True.
Wow.
Yes.
How? Please tell me how you did this. How did that happen?
Pure will. And like every country has just like different time frames of the restrictions being loose, and I think it was just a weird time when China's restriction was more loose than the US. So we still couldn't do anything here, but we can do more in China. But then it was the other way around. China was more strict. So we found a sweet spot of time where things opened up in China and we were able to do it. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like every time you go in and out of you fly in out internationally, you have to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks. So I did my
goodness.
time. I did my time in a hotel room for 2 weeks just to do that.
How long was your shoot?
The shoot was very short and sweet. It was only 6 days, and it's the full length of the film was 21 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you bring it back to the States, edit it, put it together. And how does it make its way to Cannes, and how is it received?
So we were, I was the recipient of the Emerging Filmmaker Award at the American Pavilion at Marché, so at Cannes Marché. It was very well received and made great connection at Cannes. I was definitely not part of the main competition, but I would love, my next one for sure. But yeah, just being there, being around people who still have, such aspiring dreams about filmmaking, about art house, about independent filmmaking. It's just a very unique place to be.
Amazing. And so you have this film under your belt, then you become an assistant at Range. Where do microdramas come across your radar?
Oh, it came right on my radar after the strike and after all of the layoffs, where I was impacted. There was definitely a round of massive layoff during the first waves of the strike, and unfortunately, I was affected. And yeah, there was a little bit of a downtime of me wondering, like, I've fought so hard to get to where I'm at in this place that I'm very proud of, and I'm very cherish the opportunity, the environment, my boss, the clients that we have access to, which was just once in a lifetime opportunity. But now I lost it and it's out of my control. So what do I do with it? And then I realized, we don't have any grip on it. It's just the industry, the world, the economy, like whichever powerful people want to have a war with another powerful guy, it's completely out of my hand. So what do I do with it? And that's when I'm hearing all of the gossip about vertical productions. And in the beginning, it was a lot. It was just like recent film graduates. It's just all of us young and hungry creatives who, if it's a shitty script, we're gonna go make it. Like, what else am I gonna do? Well, I did do something really fun during those soul-searching months. I mean, I went to Burning Man.
Which one did you go to? Did you go to the one with the rain or the high winds? Which one?
I did the rain one. I did the Mudman.
I was there too.
What? Okay, all right. We're Mudman 23.
By the way, it was the strike. That's the reason I went, is because it was the
Me
strike.
Me too.
Yes. Did you stay all the way through? I walked out on Saturday. So did you stay all the way through Monday?
I stayed all the way through. I stayed until it's all dry. It's all dried out.
You're young and more resilient than I. This is interesting. Did you know that microdramas were a big thing in China, or did you start to hear about it once it migrated over here? Because it feels like with your background, you might have had a jump on it than other people.
I've heard of it, but I had no expectation that it'll grow into what it is right now. I was optimistic about it.
So you hear about microdramas, you come back from Burning Man, a changed woman, and you decide this is something you want to look into. What is your first step? What was the first step you took to get into the world of microdramas?
I took a job. I honestly just took a job. Yeah, like I want to pay my bills. And it was pretty much a very kind of like in studio capacity. And by studio, I mean 7 people.
Right.
So it was very grassroots, and we just did everything. We just did everything in-house. So our platform, the mother company was obviously a Chinese Singaporean entity, but we're kind of like the production branch in North America, because the market that they were targeting was primarily North America and then globally. So so we pretty much started ground zero to one, local, as in here in US, the production branch. We was reaching out to directors, and a lot of it was just like film school friends who we know can can just pull it. There was a point when all of the directors that we're working with are Student Academy winning and like Sundance, Cannes, South by veterans, and like all of these young creatives who just want to be in a director's chair. And we're like, let's do it.
Was this Good Short? Was that the name of the company?
Yes.
How did you find that job?
I was reached out to by them.
Wow, fantastic. So what was your position there?
I was an executive producer.
So now you get there, you get the job. What is the North Star of Good Short at that time? What are they telling you microdramas are and what they will look like in North America?
I think the North Star of every company is to make money. Like, companies exist to make money.
Right.
And
Okay.
there's an argument with that. But the bosses, like the capitalists, the owners, they don't know how to make the money, so they rely on the people who knows the format, who knows the craft, to make something that makes them money. But what happens when it's a completely new thing? Like, there's no market insight for you to, there's no matrix, there's no criteria for you to make something a good thing in the new system. So you also get to shape the system a little bit, which is what's cool in building something that is new. Like you can feel that you see a trend in China that is working. You see an IP, you see a trope that works for audiences in Southeast Asia, and you think that, you know, is that something applicable? And if is it something that women from 25 to 45 in North America would also empathize with? And if it is, then let's do that. There's a lot of art in the stealing, I would say. Yeah, good creatives, they know how to steal in the right way.
Okay, so walk me through what is a microdrama, how long they normally last, what is the format, how many episodes is ideal, and then we'll get in, just talk about the creative for a second, then we'll talk about the monetization of it.
Sure. A microdrama is normally around 50 to 90 episodes, every episode being 1 to 2 minute bite-sized content. In total, that gives you kind of like a feature length. So the script that we work with ranges from 80 pages to 120. So that kind of is the size of it.
And what is this structure? So it's 1 to 2 minutes, 90 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So the structure is each 2 minute needs a cliffhanger, each 2 minutes needs a dopamine hit. What is happening at the end of or inside of each of those 2 minutes?
Well, you can loosely think of it as that, you know, every few minutes you need a dopamine hit, you need a cliffhanger. But on a more meta perspective, on a bigger scale, I think we should be thinking of like, how do people get access to it? How do people know that this thing even exists? And then let's go watch it. How are people drawn to it? How do people go download your app? So I guess that ties into your question about revenue a little bit. For film TV, we see a billboard and we see a trailer, a 1-minute trailer before our YouTube content, and they're like, okay, this looks cool, I'm gonna go to the movies and watch it, or I'm gonna go right to Netflix and watch it. I'm gonna subscribe to Netflix again tonight because this trailer looks cool. How our audience is driven to verticals determines what we're gonna make for them, because the key incentive here is to drive people to watch your content, and that is through promo pieces. So promo materials that we release at ads on TikTok, Meta, IG, YouTube, all of it. And then these bits and pieces of promo materials are supposed to be like the high intensity, high emotion, high plot change, super dense, so dense that you're like choking on information and emotion and information, that you have to click the link that directs you to download the app to finish watching it. So like after you watch 3 or 5 minute or even like 10 minutes of this story for free, and you have to know what happens next. Like you have to know if this woman is how she's gonna take revenge off her best friend who is sleeping with her husband, who also killed her father, who also is plotting her miscarriage. Like you just have to know how she's gonna like venge all these horrible people. To answer your question, the story is structured completely against the 3-arc structure that we know of, where people have to be invested for 90 minutes. Like you have to sit there for 90 minutes invested, fully focused for this whole experience for it to make sense. If you go into a movie, like if you walk out of a movie theater, go into the theater next door to watch for 5 minutes, it's not an experience. But for verticals, you can. You can just watch 5 minutes and decide to invest your time to watch more. The arcs are very chalked up. The cycles, the emotional cycles, the sequences are very chopped up. It's it's just very different from what we do, what we learned of.
And they were called verticals because they're literally shot vertically on your phone so that they fit on a screen vertically in your hand on a phone.
Yes.
And then, so what does, we talk structure for a second, then we're going to get into the app and we'll get into the monetization. I'm almost there. What does a screenplay then look like for a vertical? How is it? Is it every 2 pages? It's like, and then this is the end of the episode, or is it by episodes? What does it practically look like as someone who might want to write one?
Yeah, well, it still looks like a actual script, but there's like episode breakers. It is quite some skill to like know when to break an episode, but I think that is just something that's totally translatable through traditional serialized content.
Okay, so let's talk about the actual practicality of the money-making apparatus that's behind it.
Yeah.
So was Good Short an app, or were they a studio that were making things for an app that released microdramas? How does the actual structure work? Are there studios delivering to apps that distribute them, or is pretty much every studio have its own app? How does it work?
Yes, we work for the platform themselves, and the platforms have in-house production branches as well as in-house executive producers who source third-party production companies. So you can think of it as like first look companies to outsource the production. So it runs in both ways.
So how would you so you work for a studio that has its own distribution app?
I work for a distribution app that has its own studio.
Got it. So and you say you source material, then how does that look? Are you calling agents and saying, do you have scripts for us? Are you focusing on talent? Like you said, you went after a lot of really talented young filmmakers that were hungry and just wanted to make stuff. How does material come to you? And then once it comes to you, what is the kind of process of developing it for your format?
Yes. Well, for the both environments that I worked at, development was also in-house. Yes. So we have very strong development team that was sourcing IP, that was pumping out scripts, that was figuring out what works, what not works in China, where the vertical business is already more mature. And so yes, our development team comes up with scripts and kind of like hands over in the pipeline to the producing team, and we evaluate, we kind of budget it and find the right people, and sometimes we say no. And so there's also room for sourcing vertical scripts from outside much more these days than like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, also there's this thing because the mother companies, they're Chinese companies, right? And their trust within the talents that's completely overseas, like the trust is a bit loose in that way. So they would rather invest their trust in like an in-house army that could, that can always act on demand of where the market is. So,
right.
but as the market grow, you can only in-house certain amount of people. Like your company can grow, but you have to mobilize the free agents out there. So I would say 2026, and with the impact of AI, which is a whole nother battlefield these days, it's like total bloodbath right now. Like AI vertical dramas. But yes, I see 2026 as a singularity point where we're going to unleash a lot of creative power, both in Hollywood and just globally, of people who start to understand the format and start to make the format better. Because now we look at it, it's still rough, but that doesn't mean it's not going to become something more polished and can reach to a higher tax bracket audience after more capital comes in and more talent comes in.
So I've got a script. I found you. We've gone through the development. We've made a script that have all the episode breaks in it. We're ready to go. You found a filmmaker from wherever, whether it be a great commercial, a great short,
Mhm.
ready to go out and do it. You've got actors that you've hired. You've got this soap operatic cliffhangers, and you've got 90 episodes to shoot. How does that work? How long do you shoot? I've heard estimates that the budgets are around 200,000 for the entire series. So how does it work? And how does anybody make? Well, first of all, how does it work? How many days do you normally shoot? How are they edited? Like, what does the production of a microdrama actually look like?
The production of a microdrama just looks like a micro budget indie feature, I would
Mhm.
say. So yes, we could be shooting 13 pages a day, with like 8 people standing in a room to cover. So on a coverage and just like workload wise, it's definitely very hardcore. Right now, I feel like this business, this budget size and the content that we produce, it's built on the unmobilized manpower that is unsatisfied by where traditional Hollywood legacy media is at right now.
Yeah. So you're creating content and you're using talent that's not being utilized at the moment by traditional media, whether through pandemic strike or workload.
Exactly.
That the people that are talented that are currently not working in Los Angeles or wherever are being utilized to fill their time by shooting these. Okay. So it's how many days generally for a shoot, do you think?
Um, a week or two.
And then does that filmmaker see it all the way through post? Do they edit then, or do you have a team that then really knows how to edit these? And when you say coverage, are you cross shooting? Do you have 4 cameras working? How does it usually work?
Yeah, 2 to 3, and in very extreme circumstances, 4.
Okay.
We do some cross. Try not to, but if we have to, we do it. And in terms of post, it varies a lot. There are a lot of this platform studios have in-house post capacity, but we also mobilize a lot of third-party post houses.
And so now you've got your episodes and they go up on the TikTok and they go up on the app and Facebook and what have you. And then you've got your audience to come to that app. They're clicking on the first 4 episodes. They're really engaged. Now they're going to subscribe to the app because they want to get the next, they want to see this story through. And then they'll probably want to stay on the app to watch other content. I get then how the app makes money. How do the filmmakers who've worked on the movie actually make money? Do you have traditional back ends? You're obviously paying them a rate to make the movie. How do the filmmakers actually participate in the profits as you were of this subscription model?
Yeah, well, not the environment that I want to be working in, and it is something that I do want to change. But right now, most, if not all, of the talents, and that I mean directors, line producers, actors, do not get back ends,
Okay.
do not get any residual of any sort. Very, 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 very rare.
Right.
Few reasons. A, it's so new, and so nobody has unionized on anything. Maybe they should. Um, and B, we're working with like such international entities and such a cross-national transaction. So a lot of times there's just a lot of legality and financial loopholes. So the talents negotiating for back end is definitely a change that I want to push for when I have bigger and bigger say. And if I don't know, one day I go more entrepreneurial, because that's for me, I think the only way that people will actually invest their soul in what they do is when they have ownership, when they claim ownership of it. But unfortunately, one reason or another, financially, legally, that's not where things are at right now among the major platform/studios. But yeah, I feel like if more like-minded people that think the same way that I do, this is definitely going to be, the situation's going to be turned around.
Yeah, it would seem like the only way then for a director, a writer, an actor to make money would be to have their own channel, that they make their own microdramas, to have
Totally.
their own apps, their own subscriptions, their own marketing, their own way to do it, like content creators do, like
Yep.
YouTube creators do. It feels like in the short term, or sorry, the medium term, it feels like it's going to head in that direction where people splinter off and try to do their own things. You'll have this like insane explosion of apps, and then maybe we'll consolidate if somebody like yourself can figure out a way that filmmakers can actually make money in the more like a traditional studio system, but in this new distribution model. So you mentioned AI. Let's talk about that, because that
Yeah.
feels like if you're an app that's a subscription app and you don't want to pay humans too much to do it, it feels like. And I've also heard that in Asia, like there are soap operas with animals and soap operas with seagulls and things. And so
Yeah.
you can make all that with AI. Do you see that really taking off in the vertical space? How is that working?
I definitely see it taking off. Like, I'm witnessing it, like at the moment we speak. So many AI projects being greenlit, and people just really mobilizing to know each other that's in the field. So right now it's like the dark forest. It's almost kind of like the dark forest. Like, you don't see, are you a predator? Are you a prey? Do you see each other in this dark forest? No, you don't. But like, you need to stay really sharp and vigilant, and be on top of the food chain. That's kind of where it is right now. I definitely do see the technology as something that expedites the growth of the format. I don't see AI vertical, and again, this is changing so fast. So what I say right now, I might completely just go against myself in a month time, like completely scratch everything I said in 2 weeks. Like, nothing I said is relevant anymore. Like, it's highly possible. But what I think right now is the technology granted to us is the same way that every wave of technology has done. It expedites the growth of the format, but the format is still going to be the format, and then people are still going to crave the premium emotional experience, because people consume content because they want to feel the cathartic, empathetical, emotional experiences. And whatever technology or format gives them that, they're going to chase it. So right now, it is the live action human verticals that's giving them the rage or the lust or the hatred and all of that emotion. If it's the AI stuff short term that is giving them that, they're going to chase it. But it's not going to completely replace whatever like the real good content. So AI, I feel like, is going to take out a lot of the shitty verticals, but just as verticals are taking over a lot of shitty films we made, I don't want to use that word. So AI shows are gonna occupy the space for shitty verticals, but if there is gonna be space for really like boutique premium verticals, which I personally want to make, it's not gonna take over everything. I hope.
AI, what you're seeing right now, is it mostly like fantasy and animals and things like that? Or are people really making realistic actors in soap opera situations? What are you seeing? What right now, what is happening? What are they making most?
They're making everything is what I'm looking at.
And then what is working on the platforms? What do you find is like catnip to the people that are really consuming these at a high level? Is it like the traditional soap opera? Is it thrillers? Is it crime? What is really working in your space?
Yeah, well, verticals in general, the biggest space, the most successful space, the space that has most stable, positive ROI, is still definitely female audience-driven romance. That's all what we all want. It's good, heartfelt romance.
And are you saying then that the predominant audience for verticals at the moment are female?
Correct.
Is it generally older females or younger females or both? And then I'm going to circle back to your Mean Girls. Like,
Oh, yeah.
is it? I mean, is it younger females, older females, or just across the board women in general?
I would say 25 to 45.
So where do you see the next 6 months headed then?
In the next six months, we know that there are completely free apps that are coming up to the market. More big players are gonna come into town. More traditional legacy media is gonna invest in this space. And they're going to impact the current big players, definitely.
So when you say the big players are coming in, are you talking about like Google and TikTok and Instagram? Are you talking about like, which seems like a great fit for them? It seems like Google and TikTok and Meta would just add a premium subscription where you would also get these microdramas and then be able to just basically drown out any new studios that were trying to get going. And it also feels like to me that a lot of these studios that are ramping up right now are probably ramping up for the idea to be bundled up and sold to one of these big players, because TikTok could just hit plug and play. If you had a big studio, take all your content, put it on their site, make a premium subscription, and then you could have verticals integrated into your app, your social media app. Does that feel like where it's headed?
It definitely feel like where it's headed. I'm thinking of a historic analogy because I'm a history major, and it's a very interesting time after like the French Revolution, and you see like nobilities, you see like aristocrats who don't have money anymore marrying rich bourgeoisie. So it's a wing-wing for them because the new bourgeoisie needed status and needed brand. But the aristocrats who had the status and brand don't have the money, or like, positive income, like revenue. And that's where what I'm seeing right now, it's kind of like a marriage between legacy media and some of these new upcoming studios, platforms, etc. So like DramaBox inked a deal with Disney, and Good Short is backed out by Sony, and then Fox invested in Holy Water, which is a Ukrainian operation. So you see all of these traditional players, big players in town, who are just betting on their horses.
So as this industry sort of matures and more filmmakers enter the fray, if you were a young filmmaker who was not currently employed by one of these microdrama studios or distribution models, would you ever recommend a young filmmaker just go make one of these things and then try to sell it, or put it up on YouTube and try to do it themselves? Like, for young filmmakers, because it does feel like what's interesting in the story that you're telling, it does feel like during the pandemic and the strike, a lot of young creative people migrated into the microdrama space, but now that space is even kind of becoming a legacy space that's not really rewarding young filmmakers to be creative and to have a chance to monetarily be rewarded for their efforts. So would you recommend, and then you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, recommend that young filmmakers just go try to make stuff like you made your short and then put it up themselves, or try to sell it to a company like yours? Or how does that work? Or is it just so hard to get eyeballs on these things that it's probably not worth it?
It's definitely not hard. It's definitely harder to get an independent movie made these days than a vertical, just by purely on a budget scale. So I would say, yes, it's a very good start. It's a very good place to. It's still a good place to start. Like you still have a lot of upside, but same way that if you want to be a filmmaker, you don't just ask for money from your friends or family and go make one. Like you would know the people first. Same way like the short film that was my thesis, like I was already in like the best program, and I was knowing festival people, getting to know the festival circuit and be informed in that way. So same way as the verticals, as grassroots as it seems, and it is, there's still people that you can reach out to, people who work for the studios, people who are, I don't know, like Instagram fan accounts. They're just like huge fan accounts popping up these days. It's kind of like vertical critique. And, just follow some of those accounts, get to know the different capacities, and like how things works for all of the platforms, because they are all pretty much international if not all of them, but like the major players, all international entities. So like how are things done? How are projects getting greenlit? How do you sell a script? How much do you sell a script for? And who's the right person to sell it to? Who can greenlight a show? And basically who can write you a paycheck? Like get into those conversations, and like there are like mixers happenings about specifically about verticals. So yes, being informed about the market and the business, being informed about the people that's around it is definitely a good place to start. And I don't know, like the creativity or getting to know the business, which comes first. Like I feel like it comes hand in hand. Yeah.
Well, since you're so deep into the microdrama space now, do you miss traditional media? Are you going to come back? Are you going to write and direct a feature? Like what's your 5-year plan?
Great question. I think of it every morning and every night before I go to sleep. We always need that reminder. I don't miss like making a feature, so to speak, but I miss making things. I like actually miss owning things, taking the ownership and creating, and you have your pure will, and that's your belief, that's who you are, that's what you want to say to this world as an artist. Like that's what I miss, and that's not something you get in a consumer facing, market driven space. It's always a dance, right? So I definitely do miss that. And that's just something you earn, I think. Like the bigger scope you get, the more important you are in like whichever corporate space you are, and the bigger impact you have in your industry. Like for me, if I say I don't like this about verticals, can we never do that again? What I say don't matter, right? But if I have 10 like 500 billion shows in terms of view count under my belt, then maybe I could say that. So it's, I think ownership is not, it is also earned in a corporate environment like this. So I will continue to, I do miss having that ownership and creativity, freedom of creation. But I think it's a dance, and it's a balance, and I will fight to earn that balance for myself.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for doing this. This is fascinating to me. I don't know anything about it, so it's a completely new space and new world for me.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I always ask this last, and I'll ask as you, but I want to ask it specifically for you.
Mm-hmm.
I always ask the best memory on set, but what I want to ask you is, what is your best memory of making your short?
Oh, I love that question. I do miss it. Filming in a small village in China and shooting the scene where the female lead, the mother, is trying to escape rounds of like village patrol, people that is stopping her from go to the town to find her baby. So we're shooting that super critical scene, and we had this location of this village. The most memorable part was the whole village coming out to see us film that scene. So every like grandma, grandpa, and like little children, they come out with little like camping chairs, little lounge chairs, and they just sit afar and to watch this happen. And that is such like I don't know, like a sitcom moment where your audience is also part of the making, right? And it's kind of like we are making the show, but we're also the show. Us making the show is the show for the people who, I guess, people just want to gather in this day and age to observe something in creation that is just like pure and artistic, and like, why do you do this? And they ask me like, what are you doing? Like, why do you do this? And I'm saying like, oh, I'm like making this film. I don't want to like screen this film in like France. And they're just like, what are you talking about? We're just like trying to farm the land. But it's just them observing us doing something. I think is a good reminder that, you know, we're just here in this world, in this lifetime as artists, and that's what we do. And whether we entertain people or we make people laugh or tear up, that's just what I'm here for. And then I'm glad I'm doing it in one way or another.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Kay. I really, really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. That was a very great conversation. I enjoyed, digging up some good memories.
Thanks for tuning in for this episode of The Producer's Guide. If you're a fan of this podcast, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. And if you got any questions about producing, send me a DM on X at Todd_Garner. I want to thank my producer, Steve Delamater. And until next week, I'm Todd Garner. See you then.